I would really appreciate it if you would stop Rob Taylor from blathering on and on.
Opinions expressed by talk show hosts, callers, or guests on the Rob Taylor Report do not necessarily represent the opinions of the hosting platform, subsidiaries, sponsors, or possibly anyone else on the planet or the known universe. From the tinfoil and lead-lined broadcast bunker on the beautiful southern coast of Oregon, it's the Rob Taylor Report. So strap yourself in. Your weekly political therapy session is about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, here he is, the nearly famous Rob Taylor.
Add myself to the stage. And we've got someone in the green room who's going to come on and talk about what's going on in politics today, because, you know, politics is a strange thing. It's a strange thing. It changes every day. And I'll tell you right now, you've got Donald Trump, who has been convicted. He is a felon now. You know, that's a fact. It's a fact. He's a felon. You can't do nothing about it. And he has raised over $200 million. We're going to talk about that. But I want to bring my guest on because he is someone who, I'll tell you what, if I had a son, this guy would be my son. This guy is someone who I feel a kindred spirit with. And I think he's a great person. And that's why I wanted him on the show. And joining me right now is Josh Michael. Josh, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm great, Rob. Thanks for that. Thanks for that warm introduction. It's great to be on your show. I feel the feeling's mutual. I mean, the stars have aligned. You know, we've only met recently, but
right.
I feel like I've known you for a really long time. It's pretty.
Isn't that weird that I feel like I've known you for a real long time? I've gone back and I've listened to a lot of your shows, and it's like this kid gets it. And I hate to call you a kid, but you're in your 30s. And you are just a kid. You are just starting out. And I can tell you right now, you've got a huge adventure coming your way. And I hope you're excited about that, man.
I'm pretty excited. It's already been a big adventure. I mean, you know, as you know, we're well into this battle space, and it's been quite the journey already at the short term. I mean, the fact is, I've been, you know, awake following this stuff for a very long time, since I was about 15. But I never really got into politics just because I just always played by this golden rule that you shouldn't get into politics till you're about 35. And so that was always my my moment where, you know, that's just where I decided that, well, there was a lot of things that kind of instigated it, but it's always there. You know, I used to be a rapper. I used to be in the music industry for a long time. And if you go back, I should actually give you a bunch of stuff. You could hear little pieces. I used to always trickle political statements and political perspectives within a lot of that music because I always knew, you know, I love politics. It's interesting. People are super interesting. And just the world in itself is fascinating. And in this animated contest of liberty, it's super important to be involved. And this is one of the ways that I'm able to contribute. So I'm blessed to be here.
I'll be honest with you, Joshua. Josh, you're a rising star. And I don't know whether you know this. I think that, and I put this out on a lot of Telegram groups.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people who, first off, you got the establishment who's jealous of your youth. You know, I think, I forget how old you are, but you're in your mid 30s. And I know that, as far as I'm concerned, I got involved in politics when I was in my early 20s.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you right now, it was the best thing I ever did. It was a lot. It was an experience that I could never imagined. I was working with the governor. I was working with legislators. I was working with people who were the power players. And I can tell you right now, it's exciting. It's exciting. And you do a radio show in Salem. I would imagine, I used to do a radio show here and I would reach about 5,000 people. I would imagine you reach about 40 to 50,000 people in your area. And that is just, excuse the language, fucking impressive.
It's pretty awesome. We're working with the radio station right now to get more of a primetime slot. I'm hoping to be able to expand that reach and, compete with the national guys. There's no reason why we can't have a voice. I mean, like Lars, right? He's a local guy that everybody refers to. There's no reason that, we can't have somebody else like that in more of those primetime slots. So, and the radio is great. It's amazing. I love the opportunity to be over the air and everything else. But with my show, we're trying to fuse the internet kind of podcast as well as the on-air radio wave type call-in type situation. So it's really exciting. We're in a great time with things that are transpiring. The angrier world that Klaus Schwab always talks about that we're heading into. I feel like you, myself, and a lot of other great people in this community are going to be a very key point in keeping this tyrannical system from really clenching its jaws on the public. People are waking up in droves.
Yeah, you're an inspiration. You are what the establishment Republicans they are jealous of. You have youth, you have intelligence, you have the knowledge behind you to expose what is the real situation that is going on, because we live in a world, you got artificial intelligence, you've got people who are creating nonsense with their narrative, and you are in a situation where you can talk to 40 or 50,000 people. This is incredible. Where you can talk to that many people and explain to them how you have contacted, you have come in contact with what is the truth. And I just love that about you, man, because you have an opportunity that I didn't have at your age, because there is a time right now when social media you're on the radio. You've got social media, and I've got your website up, odyssey.com, Noncompliant America. And I love the name of your show.
Thank you. It's the website's actually just Noncompliant America. The Odyssey is an old video page that I was making, but we haven't pushed video content. YouTube banned me, Facebook banned me. So I went to Odyssey a couple years ago, and we were doing a little bit trying to get into the video production space, and we're getting. We're going to be moving the show to be more in video. I'm actually meeting with somebody who used to work for Fox down in Eugene.
Cool.
KUZI or something like that. Anyways, I'm meeting with her tonight actually, and talking about doing, a little bit bigger of a production, because I think you're right. One, people need to hear the truth, and the premise of my show isn't about talking about whatever the talking point is for the week, right? And regurgitating the Sean Hannitys and, whatever, all those people. Now, granted, they do have a place to some degree, but they're also doing a disservice to the public, because the real win and the real victory that we have is why we call it Noncompliant America, is being non-compliant in this tyrannical system peacefully. peaceful noncompliance is the key to everything. And we all know deep down in our hearts, because that's the one thing that got us out of this mask mandate, this forced vaccination BS and garbage. Even with the state of Oregon, there were 13 or 1,400 employees just at the Department of Health and Services at DHS, where they were doing a vaccine mandate type thing and just doing a play on words and trying to coerce all the employees to do it. Well, I knew some people in there, and I'm like, hey, listen, they can't force this. You guys all just got to toe the line and demonstrate peaceful noncompliance. And they called the manager's bluff there. And eventually they're like, okay, and then they backed off, because the real power is within the people. And the premise of my show and everything that I try to talk about is informing people with how they can partake in this fight at a fundamental level within their grasp, something that they have control of, such as paying with your dollar, demonstrating noncompliance, speaking out against it at your churches and your dinner tables and your neighborhood meetings, having and setting up neighborhood meetings, doing barbecues. Like, we're getting to a point where things are breaking down. I mean, I don't know if you've been following, I don't know how much you want to get into and talk about, but I mean, they're cutting off the food supply, and that's the next epidemic or pandemic that they're going to push. They're not going to hit us head on. Eventually, the grocery stores are just going to have less food available. Then they're going to have
or
to
the food
subsidize
that they have is going to be so expensive you can't afford it. I mean,
and or
eggs
it's
right
going to
now
be
is
manufactured.
$6.
Yeah, it's going to be manufactured meat that's
Yep.
printed, in which I think a lot of it's already in the fast food chains and things like that. I mean, if you look at like hamburger meat from McDonald's, most of that's silicone, right? And
Yep.
it's silicone type based thing. So we're consuming all of this stuff. But here's the interesting thing, and I talk about this all the time. In Canada, they have real beef at McDonald's. They serve Subway sandwiches at McDonald's because, and I don't know if they still do, this was 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But it's because the public demands that stuff, and they just say, no, we're not going to do it. So I think that's really important, and everybody can play a role. And so I tried to pave a path with little situations and kind of give a broad stroke, big picture on how it can be impactful. And then also demonstrate to people that feel like we're in some blue state and captured by the Democrats. It's not true. We're a red state with a couple blue cities that have been running the roost for a long time. So,
And that's what Oregon is. Oregon is the test subject for the United States. And I know people think it's California, but in fact it's Oregon, because of the laws that we have passed, the gun laws that we have passed. And we're losing the battle here in Oregon. And so that's why it's great that there's people like you, people like me, who are out there speaking the truth, who are telling people this is what's going on. And a lot of people, they just don't get it.
Right. Well, and the key, and I think the part that they hate me the most is my production background. Like, my show's fun. It's exciting. I always change buffer music. I always change intros. I'm always pushing new content, different trends that haven't even hit the radio waves yet. Right. Always trying.
How do you get away with that? How do you get away with pushing? And because I've seen some of your intros, and these are mainstream bands. How do you get away with that with copyright laws?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm terrified because this show is right now being published on YouTube, and I'm worried about putting any type of music that has been already copyrighted.
So there is there's a licensing thing that you can go through and I can walk you through how to do it. But there's fair use in a lot of things. Especially when you're a news organization, right? You have the ability to utilize that in regards to, copyright stuff. But a lot of my intro music too, I make. So I produce.
Cool.
I produce the intros, I produce like the fillers and the buffers and the overheads and kind of the sentiment of what I want to have for the show, whatever I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll do undertones on a
Right.
speech that was given or something like that, because music's powerful. It's amazing.
It is hugely
and
powerful.
and the liberals don't own it. They don't control it.
No.
They've captured it. They've corrupted it. But there's some of the best ways to reach people is through music. And so,
I think there's two ways of reaching people. One is music, because it pulls a response out of people. In fact, before I did this show, I was listening to Rush. I love Rush. I love heavy metal. And I was jamming to Rush before we did this show. But the other way is comedy. So you've got two venues where you can say and do whatever the hell you want, because it's a reality that you create. Wouldn't you agree?
I do. And what's interesting, it's so funny that you bring that up. Both of those venues right now, the counterculture pendulum is swinging drastically to the right now. And so, you can see it within comedy. No longer are the censors and the off limits topics and the BS that ties in with all of that. There's comedians out there now pushing that boundary again and continue on to doing it. They don't.
Jerry Seinfeld is just pushing this. He's got FU money. It's the fact. He's got fuck you money, and I'll do whatever the hell I want. And it's great to see these old comedians to say, screw you, because if it wasn't for us promoting the type of comedy that we were promoting back then, they wouldn't have the sense of humor that they have now. You know what I mean? Because you have to make fun of people.
Well, and case in point, the new South Park, right?
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
I'm a big fan.
Those guys have always.
Yes.
They've always pushed the boundary. They've always had Sting, but all of a sudden, they've pushed it too far. It's like, come on. That's all those guys do is push things to the limit. And it's enjoyable, because here's the thing. We can't allow these LGBTQ communists to take over the industry. The industry is exciting. It's beautiful. We should have a right and a place to do it. And we also have the ability to engage in that. We can choose to buy, for example, remember the J6 choir on iTunes, right?
Yep.
Reached number 1 on iTunes. And it was cool. It's powerful, but it just sent a message like, hey, listen, like Fight Club, we take out your garbage. We cook your food. We do, what I'm saying? Yeah. We are the remnant in that counterculture that is moving things. But I'm really excited to see, all the mud throwing and the lawfare and everything else, as horrible and as terrible as it may seem in the world. We are we've penetrated beyond this ironclad wall that has been created. And now there's new people coming in all the time and pushing that boundary and bringing the backup. And with what's happening with Trump, I think it's just been a huge, huge surge and awakening. Which is really exciting.
I just added his mug shot to the photo, and I don't know if you know this, but he's raised $200 million.
Yeah, I know.
Just for doing what he's doing. I mean, the guy is like a wrestling show. Yeah, I don't know if you're a big fan of professional wrestling.
I never watched it, but yeah.
Okay, so I used to, as a kid, my grandfather and my uncle would take me to professional wrestling events where we would watch the Von Erichs, and you had the Von Erich, Kaiser Von Erich with the claw, and it was so cool because this was happening in Texas at the local. Whatever it was, wherever they presented these venues, and it was just incredible because and that's what I say about politics. Politics is a wrestling show. You just got to know who the good guy is and who the bad guy is. And here he is being portrayed as the bad guy, but in actuality, he's the good guy.
Right. Right. And I have my faults, you know, with Trump and different different issues. But again, just like we were talking about before the show started, you know, when did it become we have such a high expectation, an almost superficial perspective of these people
Right.
and where the bar should be? I mean, you know, a lot of these critics and people that criticize people and their lives and everything else, they live unhealthy lives too.
Yeah.
You know, he's probably the most investigated man in the world, and for him
Absolutely.
for
Yeah.
him to get as far as he has, you know, he's one of the better people probably on this earth that is able to withstand all of this nonsense. And whatever the left wants to chalk it up as, you know, some unfairness, or, you know, he's currying favor because he's white, or some other ridiculous argument.
Right.
It's just, it's absolutely absurd. The guy, you know, he doesn't even have he does everything on paper. He doesn't even have an email, you know?
No, that doesn't that blow you away? But then again, he's from the generation who wouldn't have an email,
Mhm.
and I can totally get that. And so that's what's kind of cool about him, is that he's living beyond the reality that people of my generation, your generation, has created.
Right. And here to me is, you know, the MAGA movement, Make America Great
Yep.
Again, that whole concept. It's bigger than Trump.
Yeah.
Trump is simply the catalyst that he's simply just, it's almost like he got behind the curtain and he goes,
Yeah.
he gets behind the curtain, and then all he does is he's pulling the curtain and he's going, "Hey guys, look at this over here.
Yeah.
You like people fucking kids? You know, you like all these pedos over here running shit? Yeah, no, we don't like that either. Let's do something about it. Oh, and let's go over here." He's just walking around the room. "Hey, let's go over here. Election fraud. People have been talking about election fraud for 30 years.
Right.
It didn't have any ground, any standing, nothing until Trump came along. Suddenly everybody's taking a look at it. But look at all of the discrepancies with this bureaucratic administrative state that has been running shit for a long time.
Yep.
He's simply exposing it. He's exposing it. He's challenging it, but he's also getting the public aware, which is one of the best things that he's done, is he's awoken the public to be aware of these things, the school systems, the discrepancies, the medical systems, everything. Right.
Right.
There it is. But that's one of the best things that I think Trump has done. And that's also one of the reasons why they attack him so much, because metaphysically they know the next generations and the galvanized base that he has now is going to be impenetrable for their dirty tactics that they play.
I've got a theory about people who were 14 in 2020 or 2016. 2016, people who were 14 years old are 8 years older than they were in 2016. And because it's 2024, and those people are seeing a man who was an alpha male. He was out there. He was doing the thing that alpha males do. He was taking care of business. He was out there challenging the status quo. He was out there facing the mob and being the sole guy who was willing to challenge that. And I've got up on the camera right now. This is the response you would expect from a Republican Party who has absolutely, well, as far as I'm concerned, they have left their what they should be. And it says, "I'm going to write you a strong worded letter." You know, and that's just it. You've got the donkey putting the gun to the head of the elephant, saying that you're screwed. There's nothing you can do, and this is it.
Right, and that is a very, very illustrative image of the most of the Oregon Republican Party. and that's how they operate. And the great thing is it's changing. Things are evolving. People are getting more hip to these things. And, just because you're not going to guarantee and have a win, but that doesn't mean you need to sacrifice and compromise your values in order to kind of win. I don't understand that logic. People don't understand that logic. You can't, there's nothing in life where you can just partially do and it's satisfactory. If they were building airplanes and they only built 80% of it, the airplane won't be safe and it won't fly, right? You can't. It just the logic doesn't make sense. Now, granted, I'm not a politician. I have not really a lot of interest to
Wait a minute. You're not a politician. How would you classify yourself? Are you an activist? Are you a radio show host? What the hell are you, man?
I mean, I guess I'm an activist for America and an activist for liberty and an activist for truth and an activist for doing what's right. And, being open and transparent and trying to wake people up out of their sleep. That's what I care about. I have so many conversations, and I'm sure that you do, Rob. I have so many conversations with people all the time. They're like, "Oh, I feel the way you do. I hear what you're saying, brother. Keep going. I'm like, dude, you could get in this too. It's
right.
It's for all of us. It's not just my lane or my arena or your arena or anything. It's the whole American system. That's what America was based on and built on, were farmers and regular people that got fed up and were just deciding that, hey, this is it. We're not going to let these tyrants control our lives. There's a lot more of us than there are of you, which is, why they're kind of skating around in the shadows everywhere, trying to, sabotage our way of life and this great system and country that we've built.
And I'm glad you put it in that actual terminology, is that they are sabotaging our life. Hey, before I go any further, I want to bring a gentleman on here who is Matt Holman. And Matt, we're playing a game of Where's 3H Tree Service? Where the hell are you, man? Has anyone won yet?
Yeah, Emily Stubblefield won. She's we've known her for a while. She her dad is Russ Billmeyer. He does our inside and takes care of us there. And her daughter was on the trap team for Riverview. They have a trap team out there at that school, and she shot shotguns out there. So
this is cool.
Anyway, yeah, we had a winner, and it worked out pretty good. I think we'll try to do it again next week and keep it going.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you, Matt. I appreciate you sponsoring the show. I met with you last night, and we were talking about how you put yourself out, you put your business out at risk for just being on this show. How do you feel about that? Uh-oh, we're losing him. Come in, Matt. He's...
Oh, there it is. He probably lost the feed.
Yeah, he lost the feed, and here he is. So, Matt, what's up, man?
There you go. That's better. That internet just, I don't know. They say there's 5G in town, but I don't believe them.
Well, 5G is not for our benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good day. The guys went over to that Shore Pines Trailer Park and took a tree out for them. They're pretty good over there too. Scott keeps us busy. Usually a tree a month during the summertime. They've got quite a few big trees over there that are technical, and we like it. It's always a challenge.
So you had a winner today. We've won. Somebody has already won. Where's 3H Tree Service? And I'll have to put that up. We have a winner. Just so everyone know, we have a winner in today's round of Where's 3H Tree Service. And so are we going to play this next week?
I'm sure hoping to. So we run into somewhere in the country, like way out down private lanes, things like
Yeah.
that, I kind of have a hard time with that. But I'll give everybody a heads up. Next week we'll be in Lakeside.
Cool.
So I don't know if anybody listens from Lakeside or following us on Facebook from Lakeside, but that's where we'll be next week.
Well, we'll definitely be here, and I want to thank you for sponsoring the show, man.
No, Rob, thank you. Thanks for what you do for us.
All right. You take care, Matt.
Yep, you too, Rob. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. And that was Matt Holman. He is a business owner, and he owns 3H Tree Service. That's the fact the reason they call it 3H Tree Service is the three Holmans who run 3H Tree Service. And this guy will go 90 feet in the air, cut down the top. He will top a tree on the middle of a cliff with a Marlboro in one hand and a chainsaw in the other. I mean, talking about manly men. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, tree stuff's hard.
It's damn hard.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
And so that's one of the things that I like having about this show is that we try to do local things, but we're doing things that are also on a statewide and national level. And so one of the things I want to start off with asking you is we just had the primary election. What was the biggest thing that you were impressed by with the primary election that just happened?
I think because I'm in Marion County, so I followed that primary a lot. The big thing that I found was some of the new candidates running for city council.
Yeah.
They were green as green can come.
Yeah.
And they had a great heart, a big heart, and they were very focused and active on getting out there, and they made a phenomenal run in their districts. And to me, that was very symbolic. They were younger
Right.
people. They were younger than me. And they are out there getting involved, taking that step and engaging with the public. That was one of the best takeaways that I had from that primary, because that's the kind of thing that we need. Anna Munson, right? So she's been around politics for a long time. She ran for county clerk. Very impressive campaign. She did phenomenal. I thought she was going to win. And so that was great. Julie Hoy for mayor. Huge retribution against the Salem tax that they tried to push. So we're really excited. She's actually going to be at the Coffee Klatch with Jeff Krupp tonight, and I'm going to go out there.
Oh, that's cool.
And see what she has to say. We're all going to talk to her and see what her plans are. But yeah, just a lot of shakeup, a lot of things going on. It's really exciting to see. That is how we restore things. And I think in these next couple of years, we're going to see some pretty big changes. As much as these people want to crack down, I just think that's going to cause us to band together more and get meaner and madder and more focused and more galvanized to fight these tyrants, which is what America is.
Trump just went through the trial. He just went through the trial, which was a show trial. It was, I've been through a lot of court actions in my lifetime, and I can tell you right now, this was a bunch of bullshit. It was nothing but semantics about how he labeled his attorney fees. And in fact, his attorney was a crook. He's admitted a crook. He's been convicted of being a crook. And the amazing thing is that Trump has raised $200 million in total donations since the guilty verdict. You got anything to respond to that?
Well, that's America speaking out. But more importantly, that is that's one of the examples. I think in his 2016 campaign, I don't think he spent $200 million. I think he was only, gosh, I'll have to look it up. But I remember he didn't spend hardly any money on campaign contributions. For his 2016 campaign. I think 6-1 against Hillary. Yeah. But it's a great thing. I don't know. I'm still indifferent. I love the spirit, and I love the energy that is built around that. But I don't think that we're not going to have an easy road to this election. I think this summer is going to be beyond anything that this country has ever seen, and there's going to be a lot of hard times and stress that's going to come with it. But I'm very optimistic in regards
What
to.
makes you feel that way? What makes you feel that way? Because, like I said, you're a young man, and as an old man, maybe I look at everything as on the glass is half full.
Right.
But why do you say that? Why do you think it's going to be bad? Why do we think you're going to go into a bad cycle?
Well, one, cycles happen all the time.
Right.
And it's inevitable. We've been on a financial bubble since 2008 for a very long time. We should have let it pop harder. The bailouts with all these big corporations was not the response and not the answer. And so
Yeah.
that's one, right? Another example is, the GME, the GameStop, showing on its face how vulnerable the actual market is.
Yeah.
If you break down a lot of the financials, most companies own the other companies that own the other companies, and it's all just a big
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah.
And there's a very small fraction of people that own most of the stock market industry, right? So they're vested in a lot of different things and everything else. Geopolitically, there's a lot going on, with Taiwan and China. There's things going on with North Korea. There's a huge escalation with Russia.
Yep.
I mean, all these pressure points, Israel, Ukraine, all these pressure points are happening around us, and they have to come to a climax at some point. They have to pop or diffuse at some point. But these are some of these global institutions and leaders creating this friction and creating this pressure as a little trick bag that they're able to put into their pocket, to where, as our economy reaches, I think we're heading toward like a Great Depression or depression level in regards to the economy. There's just simply not manufacturing happening the way that they used to. They're printing money like it's going out of style. I mean, we're 1930s Germany as far as the amount of money printing that we've been doing. And
Right.
there's no stopping it. It's a runaway train. It's out of control. With the supply chain, there's going to be suffers. There's going to be challenges. And I don't think inflation's going anywhere. I don't care what anybody says. Who cares what the Fed's doing? They decided not to raise interest rates probably until fourth quarter. All this stuff, it's all semantics and games. So the robber barons can just continue to soak up all the resources possible, into where one day, just like one day we woke up 9/11 and everybody lost their mind. And then, one day we woke up and, they were doing bank runs, and there was that bank runs with Silicon Valley Bank, and everybody freaked out with that. Same with the 2008, same with, the 1982. There's been just a lot of similarities. And if you really look in between the tea leaves, aside from what mainstream's telling you, or what some of these people that were trusted maybe 10 years ago, suddenly I feel like they've been compromised and they're misleading a lot of the public. The reality is, I believe, is that people should absolutely start getting prepared for a potential catastrophic event, where the normalcy bias and things that you can expect to have available suddenly won't be available or as accessible. Like the toilet paper shortage for the COVID is one of the best examples I like to give, because suddenly they were gone. Right. I think there's going to be similarities, except it's going to be more household items, important things that people depend on, such as the internet, right? Or power, or, water being tampered with. I mean, I'm seeing all of these things. I think I saw something by the Oregon Health Authority today telling people to be careful about drinking some of the water in certain areas because it could be tampered. Yeah, exactly. A Marxist takeover. But these are incremental things that are happening, but they're trying to move the Overton window, to create the
Yep.
normalcy bias, to create a culture of people that just think things are always going to be there, right? Or, hey,
Right.
this cycle happens every 10 years. It's inevitable, but it's going to recover. It's going to kick back. It's going to do this. It's like, no, they're going for broke now. And the reason, one of the main reasons that I think that's what they're going to do is because of the $200 million that Trump raised, right?
Right.
The pushback that the American people have is so strong and so powerful that the response has to be an equal or opposite, an opposite but an equal value reaction, or they
Right.
have to one up it. Such as going to war and declaring a war. I mean, they've
Yep.
pretty much greenlit using U.S. weapons on Russia. I mean, it's crazy to think about how domesticated we've become, to where we let our guard down. And I can't stress enough the importance of situational awareness. I mean, I've been watching these videos. I was talking about on my last show. I can't imagine being a single mom with a couple kids or something like that. But
Could you imagine? Yeah,
the
that would be
kidnappings, the
impossible.
attempted kidnappings, the manipulation, the drugs, the fentanyl, they're spraying teddy
Yeah.
bears and putting them on people's
Yeah.
cars. And it's unbelievable, Rob. To the fact is that, to me, is the most pressing thing is self-preservation and trying to wake these people up of, hey, listen, we got an open border. There's 15,000 people roughly coming in a day. They don't even account for who they are. Millions and millions of people from all different walks of life, where they don't have the same cultural domestication that we have. There's a
Right.
group, there's just a bunch of dodo birds walking around, and we really need to wake those people up, because we can't just go out in the woods and think that we're going to be lone men and survive. We
Yeah,
have to
it's just
preserve
not
the
gonna happen.
civilization. Yeah. And that's the point
Yeah.
of the show. That's the point of this. That's the point of all the messaging. We have to preserve our civilization. And these people are perfectly capable of engaging in this fight, engaging in this battle space. It's just a matter of giving them confidence and the wherewithal and the knowledge on how to do it. Because we all need to do it together, right?
But we're
Because
not prepared. We're not prepared. Most
No.
of society is not prepared.
No, and I don't know if you saw the Eric Prince interview with Tucker the other day.
No.
Powerful interview, but he basically stated that in the Ukraine, one, Russia is getting stronger. They're getting more sophisticated. Their attacks are becoming more effective because they're learning all the West's technology. And they have these GPS jammer systems where 90 to 95% of our weapons are ineffective because of the Russians' defense systems.
Wow.
And so we think that, and granted, I love America. I love the American system. I think that, we have the potential to be, the superpower that we are.
Right.
But we're being sabotaged in so many ways. And that's why Trump's going to be so powerful. But that's also why that they're going to do anything and everything that they can to try to stop him. And that
Yeah.
means, everything under the sun, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at us in hopes that they can get us to sit down and shut up and just take it in the ass. That's what they want.
And that's literally what we're going for, is that people expect us, well, you have to compromise with these people, and there is no compromise. They want to destroy us, and there is no compromise with people who want to destroy us. I have to move on to a little bit of a different issue. And that was something that we were talking about, and that's Alex Jones.
Mhm.
And I've been a fan of Alex Jones going back to the mid 90s. And I had a producer, the producer who was the producer on my show was a friend of Alex Jones and worked with Alex Jones when he was on the radio back in the 90s, and this was in Denver, Colorado, which is a huge amount of people who listen to this guy. And so it was just impressive that this guy came to a small town like Coos County and was working on my show and was able to tell me about all the experiences that he has had and working with Alex Jones, who now, and I want to play this video right now. This is
I've been under attack. I've been gaslit. I've had secret federal filings filed on me that I'm committing crimes, referred to the Justice Department, which of course wasn't true. We'd already filed it in federal court months before. They didn't even check this shit. If you're going to fucking frame somebody and fucking lie about them to goddamn federal court with the fucking know it's already filed in the goddamn court, you bastard. So fuck you. And fuck anybody else that tries to go on with your shit. You want fucking war, you fucking got it. I told you one more fucking lie and I was going to do this, all right? I tried to sustain this place. I didn't believe America was as corrupt as this. I didn't believe we were this fucked, and we are this fucked. This country is administratively got a bunch of scum in charge of it. And that's why it's going down the tubes, and America and the whole world sees it. So you misjudged who I am, and in a year of millions misjudged who I am, and you have no idea. No idea. So go ahead, try to jerk off some operation to shut the doors here and do that and prove everything I said. It doesn't matter. And I don't sit there and make threats. I make promises. I haven't had time yet to dig it out of my phone, but I will. And you will, at the end of the day, know that Alex Jones, the American patriot, defeated your evil ass. You guys want to comment?
Well, I'll just say,
I've been under attack.
Yeah.
And so there you go, Alex. And I titled that "The Angry Alex Jones." I'm going to play the crying Alex Jones in itself because, boy, he was going through a different spectrum of emotions there.
I was watching the whole thing. I've been a huge fan of Alex for a long time. He's the most vindicated man on the planet. Way ahead of his time, you know.
Right.
Tomorrow's news today. That's his mantra. The guy is just way over the target. I believe he's one of the main pioneers that pushed Trump to the finish line. He has been an integral part in the libertarian movement, of the Tea Party movement, of kind of this fringe thing. They've tried to snuff him out for so long. But here's the thing, and this is a point that a lot of people fail to mention, right, in regards to criticizing the situation with Alex Jones. I think the best thing in the world could possibly, for the planet, for the republic, is that if they close his doors. Because think about this.
Yeah.
Think about this. That guy wakes up every morning. He does his show 6 days, sometimes 7 days a week. And he's committed to his show, his platform. He's got to make business dealings. He's got to deal with his store. He's got to hire and fire staff. He's got to do all of this stuff. Think of all of the energy that he uses every single day to run his operation. Okay?
3 or 4 hours a day, just himself doing it. Right.
Okay. So think about this. Take all that responsibility away and let that guy loose in the world.
Right.
What the? Do you know what kind of damage he's going to do?
Yep.
Where he's just like, I got all this. He's got all this energy now, and he can now use it for everything. He's going to have all the time in the world. He's going to be able to travel to speak out in Congress and to do all this and do all that, and possibly maybe even a seat in the Trump administration. I mean, the possibilities are endless. I think it's an absolutely underestimated move for them to try to shut him down and make him, you know, the way that he is, because he's tied up in his operation right now. And if you free that up, I think it's creating a monster that's going to be an absolute nightmare for this system, which is great. I mean, obviously, I don't want to see that happen. I love InfoWars. I think that they were a huge advocate for. They had Dr. Francis Boyle on in February. Alex had Dr. Francis Boyle in 2020 of February, but he also had Mike Adams on in November, late November, early December, talking about COVID before it even came to the United States. Nobody even knew what it was. So he's so vindicated, but he's so over the target. He doesn't give a shit about anybody, about what they think of him or what they say. He doesn't fantasize about the Hollywood elites or anything like that. And I think this is a miscalculation on their part. And you know what? I looked at his show today. I think he had over 200,000 people tuning in live. When he first got on X 6 months ago, he only had about 3,000 or 4,000. It was 200, 250. Over the weekend, it was 280,000 people tuning in all at once. Just on X. Yeah. I mean, that's all I got is X. But it's I think it's such a miscalculation. We're definitely in some trying times, but I don't think it's by mistake. And people might not agree with this thing, and I'll let you ask whatever you're going to ask, but you can't help but wonder, did you follow any of the Q stuff, or did you look at any of that? Anyway, I
was never a Q fan.
Right. Neither was I.
I was controlled opposition.
I agree. Right. Operation Truth. Right. You know, the 1917 project in Russia or whatever. But what's so interesting is that, taking a step back, looking at the veil that's been revealed to the public, it kind of points back to some of the Q stuff. It's really absurd and it's really strange. And I also think that there's a correlation with Elon Musk. I think he is a definite an asset for the Trump administration.
Yes.
And they are definitely working together. They just haven't announced it. So here's how we know that Trump is way more sophisticated than he puts off. I don't remember what it was. I think it was back in 2020, maybe 21. Anyways, when he was vindicated about the Operation Crossfire Hurricane, right? When all that stuff came out, when they were spying on him illegally, everything else, Trump knew about that for 13, 14 months.
Right.
And he didn't say a word, right? He didn't say one word about it until it actually trickled out into the public. And then all the outer links started to talk about it. They moved the talking point, and then it became public, right? And then he came out with a press conference and he's like, yeah, I told you, blah, 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 blah. This happened 15 months ago. I knew about it. And so he sat on that for such a long time. And this is why I think we're in such a thing. And yes, absolutely. The Q stuff, it's interesting. Some of the Q stuff is very over the target. It's very real. Look at what's happening with Diddy. Look at what's happening with, Oprah and Epstein and stuff. A lot of that stuff was tied in with some of the Q pedophiles run everything, all of that. There's some truth to that. And so we can't discount it. Yes, there's some rabbit holes that I don't know. There's this one guy I talked to. He's got crazy stuff. But anyways, sitting back and looking at how things have transpired, everything's coming out in the open. People are waking up. Now, is it a prediction? Is it engineered? Is it natural? Are we in the fourth turning? I believe so. But it's just, it's super interesting to me. So anyways, in regards to Alex, I think that they underestimate that. And he's going to have a massive amount of energy that he's going to have to exert if they close down his operation.
So all of this comes from the trial that happened with Sandy Hook. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't buying into the Sandy Hook line that Alex Jones was promoting. He was saying that it was a red flag. It didn't really happen. Those victims weren't real. And we've got a lady here in Coos County whose nephew was killed in Sandy Hook. She's got pictures. She went to the funeral. But the thing is that we have a First Amendment right.
Right.
And he has the right to believe anything that he wants to believe. And I support that right. I'd fight and die for that right. And I think he was railroaded in the trial about the Sandy Hook. If he wants to believe what he wants to believe, I'm all in on what he's saying, even though I don't believe it. But what's happening now is related to that Sandy Hook trial.
I absolutely agree. They set the precedent using Alex Jones, and that's the
Yeah.
same lawfare that effectively, Enrique Tarrio and Donald Trump and
All of it. Yeah.
all of it has been used. They started with Alex. They used him, created a straw man, made him a radical, all these outlandish things, preyed on these dead kids, and effectively got the public to think that it's okay to do that if that's the case. It's kind of like hate crimes, right?
Right.
Every crime is a hate crime. If you're punching somebody in the face, I can rest assured you probably hate them or you don't like them. That's a hate crime.
Right.
So
Right.
the fact that they have these new laws and everything else, it's really interesting. But yeah, I absolutely agree. They've paved a new path for political prisoners, for a two-tier justice system, and we're seeing it right before our eyes. And it's a matter of getting people aware of it and getting enough support. I think is really going to be able to push this thing back. So.
And I've actually interviewed Enriqueo Antario, and I've interviewed him several times. And I was one of the people who was with the Patriot Group who we defended his flank from being attacked from Antifa when he went to Portland. Twice I've done that. So I've been in the fray of watching 4,000, 5,000 crazy leftists who literally wanted to kill us. I mean, literally wanted to kill us. And so, and I've talked to and I've had the guy who, and I can't remember his name, who runs Revolver news outlet. And we've had him on the show when I had a radio show, and he was trying to accuse Enrique Tarrio of being an FBI agent. And yes, he has worked with the FBI. We know this. This was proven. But because of his sentence, I don't believe that came down to what he was doing with the Patriot movement. And this is kind of what ties in with Alex Jones. They're trying to say that he is violating the law and we should excoriate Alex Jones because he believes what he believes. And I'm one of those who fights for the right to people to believe what they believe.
Absolutely. The First Amendment is there for the speech that you don't like and the speech that you don't agree with. It's not there because of you want to agree. But I don't know. I don't think people are buying it. I think there's definitely a big fight on our hands for the future. And they're pulling out all the stops. They're going to use AI and any type of technologies. They're going to try to isolate us. The big thing that we have is communication and community. And they're, I don't know. It's we're getting in some interesting times, and
we are.
The open border thing, I think, is one of the biggest. That's one of the bigger threats that we have. Because the border's wide open and they could be bringing anybody in here,
or anything. Yeah. And this is not just about drugs. You're talking about people who could be bringing in those suitcase nuclear bombs.
Right.
You know what I mean? There is a lot of things that they could be bringing in. I'm going to play a clip real quick of Dr. Phil, and we had some of our legislators on this, and I want to hear your response to it after I play this clip. Well, I don't know what happened to the sound of this thing. Okay, I don't know what happened to the sound of that, but you've seen the clip of Tim Knopp and I forget who the other Oregon representatives are who are on there.
Look like Kevin Mannix.
I think that was Kevin Mannix. Boy, he's gotten old. Okay. I've been in politics too long because I remember when he actually had brown hair. And so, yeah, he's gotten old. And yeah, it was interesting that they were on there talking about the decriminalization of drugs. And I'm one of those who I've been fighting against the war on drugs for a long time, and I voted against Measure 110 because of the fact it didn't control the supply side of drugs.
Right.
And on top of that, you've got the Ninth Circuit Court who has put in all of these regulations, who have allowed homeless people to do whatever the hell they want, which is really the real problem that's going on here. Would you agree or disagree with me on that?
I agree. It's a absolute breeding ground. Here's the underbelly of the whole situation is that a lot of the legislators that are putting in this law and passing and pushing for this, they also have a stake or getting kickbacks from the NGOs that are profiting from it. So it's not that they're concerned about the citizens or concerned about the people. If they really were, I think they'd sew all this up. They wouldn't be defunding police departments. I heard something the other day. I don't know if I should even say it, but virtually Yamhill County is bankrupt. They basically don't have any police, because of that. Where's all that money going? Right. And what are they using it for? Because I know they're not using it on the roads. And so you have these institutions, which I think most institutions should just be closed down completely. We have way too many bureaucrats, way too many agencies that are overseeing everything. I mean, I'll get a new tax bill from, some different agency that's trying to collect some tax. Now when I go buy, certain things, I'm getting cat taxed.
Right.
Where's all that money going? Where's the account for it? But also it's not being utilized correctly. They're not balancing the budget. They don't care. So, and when I see somebody like Kevin Mannix going on Dr. Phil and preaching about how he's concerned about the population and everything else, and I didn't watch the whole thing. Has it been aired yet, or is that just the preview?
I don't even know if it's been aired yet. Yeah, I just showed you the clip.
But for him to be on that when he proudly, which I think has been a disaster for this state, proudly supported the Measure 11 push. I think that's been a disaster for this state. It takes the law and the discretion out of the judges to be able to make a decision. Now, granted, they're heinous crimes, but also I've seen the DA in some cases change what should have been a non-Measure 11 crime, and they push for the Measure 11, which then gets the mandatory sentencing. That is absolutely absurd. It ruins people's lives. And, the justice system is not supposed to, be the end all be all. You're not supposed to have, the end of your life. And they were able to go after as young as 15-year-olds and try them as an adult for a Measure 11 crime. That has been a disaster for this state. I talked to Bob Tiernan about it too. He didn't like me very much when I confronted him about it at Dorchester.
Oh boy.
Because they don't understand how the system, and now we're starting to see how the system is able to go after good people such as Donald Trump and utilize the lawfare to criminalize people. In other words, who don't deserve that level of criminal, quote unquote, justice or charges. We're seeing the abuse of that. I think Measure 11 is definitely one of those things that has abused that. And we should repeal that immediately because it's disgraceful. It doesn't give the judges the ability to actually do their job. And so for him to go on and talk about criminalization of drugs and be against it, I think that's very hypocritical because, he's been in the forefront since the 90s on creating this environment of degenerates and not letting people actually go through the system and grow from it and become good members of society. He's destroying their lives for life, and in some cases putting them away and just making them, permanently institutionalized mentally to where they're just damaged.
I totally get it. Yeah, the system is rigged. Before we go on any further, I've got to bring on one of my sponsors, and that's Tim from Tom and Gigs. Tim, how you doing, man?
Hey, man, doing super. Just enjoying a great Monday, man.
I bet you're busy. The last time I went to your place of business, your whole entire business was surrounded by trucks. I mean, there must have been about $3 or $4 million of pickup trucks surrounding your place, ready to get worked on. How do you deal with that, man?
That's why our new hire is helping out. That's for sure. He's working out real well. Real proud of him, and so far is good. It's hard to find somebody that wants to show up for work, and let alone knows how to do the job. So I think we'll be very fortunate, and we're learning from him. He's learning from us, and get to know each other, and it's going to be a good working relationship, I think. So hopefully, God's blessed us with somebody that's going to do well. So anyway, I agree with that guy completely. It's the system's so damn corrupt. I don't know. What do they want? A civil war or something? That's
right.
It's just how do you win? It's just by voting. Are we winning by voting? I don't know.
Yeah.
That is the goal. That is the goal, Tim. They're priming the real estate to provoke either a straw man or have some type of false flag. So where they can blame it on all the people that are saying no and demonstrating peaceful noncompliance and just disconnecting from the system. They are creating the atmosphere where it makes it more believable.
Right. Tim, you want to respond to that? Tim, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm on Josh's phone, and somebody was trying to call him.
Anyway. That's cool. That's all right. Well, hey, you should have answered it. Maybe he was a girlfriend. You know what I mean? We could have had fun.
He had trouble. That was anniversary yesterday, so he's all good. He's been married for a long time. Proud of him. Longer than almost as long as he's been here. Almost he's been married, but it's going 20 years. Anyway, all these people out there, I used to call them homeless, but they're not. They're criminals on the street. That's what most of them are. Very few are the ones that really want to hand up to get and better themselves in society and be productive. So I think they all have tents, right? Most of them, or they get given to them. I think every one of them needs to be, shit, showered, shaved. Find out who's mentally capable of doing something, who isn't. And like you say, they need to go to an institution where they're not a threat to themselves or anybody else in the public. We see it all the time with people going nutso here. So it kind of gets old, especially the customers really don't like it. And that makes the property value go down, business goes down. But all they have to do is put them out in the woods, say, here's a pick, here's a shovel, here's an axe, whatever, a saw, clean up the slash and trash, and that's how you're going to earn your money.
That's right. And we'll feed you and give you a place to sleep and everything. Just dig this ditch.
There's ways to do it, and that'll help the forest not burn down probably as much, maybe. I don't know, because BLM's good at that, right? The state's really good at burning forest down. So, I just see it so much. We work so hard to make way for our families, and we're just getting leached off of. And I'm not a taxpayer by definition in the code, so everybody that likes to be a taxpayer, that's okay. It's not a lawful thing. There are certain taxes we do pay that are lawful, but you want to learn the truth, you want to keep being a slave. And it's easy to be a slave because people are afraid of the truth. I've been challenged many times, but still sitting here today, and I'm sorry, I don't file tax returns. I don't do that bull crap. It's complete. I have a right to make a living. You can't tax a right. You can't attach a fee to a right.
Right.
God given.
More importantly, the income tax, you can't tax labor.
Right. And that's my services rendered, right?
Right. You can't. And there's a lot about that. So I'm congratulating you on that, Tim. That's amazing. There's a giant movement happening right now with the younger generations. They're just deciding that they're not going to pay taxes anymore.
Yeah, they're sick
So,
of it. What's their
they're
money
done.
coming for?
Well, if you know,
Okay, guys, I'm too scared. I'm just too scared not to pay taxes because I've seen what's happened to Wesley Snipes. I've seen what's happened to Willie
Well, that's
Nelson.
because they were evading taxes. They
Yeah.
weren't avoiding a tax that didn't apply to them. There's a difference between evading and avoiding. There's lawful known duty taxes, and there's other taxes that don't apply to us. So you just we have a right to use the law. If that's what the law says I have a right to do, what am I doing? I'm obeying the law. I'm just using the law. And people would take just a little bit of time to read probably 4 or 5 pages in that 10 or 12,000 IRS code book. They could probably figure it out real easy, but no lawyer attorney.
Tim, you're badass. Okay,
Dude,
that's just
sure.
badass. Anyone who takes on the IRS, that's badass. Because I'm terrified. I will go after the DEA. I'll go after the FBI, but the IRS, they will steal your shit, man. They will take everything from you. So you're badass, dude. I have to give you credit. That's why I say my sponsors, and Tim's one of my sponsors from Tom and Gigs. Anyone who's this badass, you've got to listen to them.
Well, if they come to my front door, I'll ask them to politely leave. If they don't, I said, I'm going to call the sheriff and I'm going to have you sent to the Gray Bar Motel. Don't trespass on my property unless you got a signed affidavit signed by a judge with a warrant. No, I'm sorry. Where's your books and records? Well, my Elvis records and all my hot rod books. There's my books and records. They're in this bag. You can see them when you bring back the law. Done. Bye-bye. They ain't going to come back because they're going to get sued on a personal basis, right? That's what's going to happen to them.
right.
Done.
That's cool. That is cool.
So anyway, we got to do
Tim.
something to clean up this country. And, I think it's so great, really, what happened to Trump that they show all their cards, right? And I just tuned in 5 minutes or so before I got on here, so I didn't hear all of what you guys were talking about. But it's everybody's on the same page. We just got to stand together and don't be afraid.
Amen.
The truth will set you free, and God will always stand up for people who are doing the right thing and the truth. So we're on the right side of the law and history.
Well, God bless you, Tim. Thank you so much.
Yep, you guys are awesome. Anyway, our shop out here, you can, if you need something done, 135 South Shonem in Coos Bay. Today, it's kind of the sunshine corner of the bay, but you need some work done on your truck, your car, or you need a little exhaust work, you need an RC car or parts or whatever, Joe's out there, and Josh will sell you a toolbox and headache rack and a tonneau cover before you know what happened. And we'll do whatever we can to help you get the right products, and we also do all the installs. So anyway, it's great to be alive. God bless this country, and you guys on the thing here, and Rob, he's a huge voice. Really proud of his program, and you too. So anyway, I will leave you alone.
Hey, Tim, you forgot the most important thing. You've got to combine those tannerite. You sell tannerite. You're a tannerite distributor. So if you can combine that tannerite with the RC cars, I'm telling you, you've got an impressive arsenal right there alone.
It's incredible. Yeah. Well, it's definitely something that's different. That's for sure. Most auto shops don't sell tannerite, and they don't sell RC cars.
Right.
But it's fun. It's a fun thing, and so we're having fun. It creates a job, and a lot of people come in and enjoy it. And it's fun to see families do stuff, the good stuff. So, but anyway, 541-888-4660. Keep up the good work, and look what happened to Alex Jones too. Look what's happened to him. They're trying to shut him down. It's you can call him whatever you want, but if they're trying to shut him down, I like it. He's doing something right, and
yep,
it's we're all giving the same message. So anyway, I will leave you guys to your misery. Crank it up, be loud and proud, and we've got that neon sign coming there, buddy, behind us. Really,
I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Thank you so much, man. Tim, you take care.
Probably made in China, but I don't know.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. I'll talk to you later, Tim.
Nice to meet you, Tim.
Take care. Yep.
And that's the thing there, Josh, is that, most of the people who sponsor my shows are small businesses who are family owned, and they are not taking any shit anymore. And, you talk to Tim, you talk to Matt, at the first of the hour, And these are guys who are just fed up with the system that is working against them. They are working against them, and they're working against people like you. You've got a small business. And so, this is something that I think that we all have to pull together, because this country, 70% of the people are 70% of the business in this country are small business. And we've got to say at some point, we're not going to take it anymore. Don't you think?
Well, that's where we are. And I think that we finally have stepped out of the house, got past the sunshine. We're getting up on our feet, and now we're starting to look around and realize that, there's a big wide world out there, and we have to start engaging in it. We have to start teaching our kids, teaching the youth, the same way the communists invoke all their generational propaganda, brainwashing BS. We have to indoctrinate our kids on the American system and the family values and the infrastructure. Just little things. Sit at the dinner table that night, talk about your day, pray together, do things together, see what your kids are interested in, see what they're doing, right? Don't just sit on the video game to where, they're just lost in oblivion and you're in your own world and doing this. The animated contest that's where the real success is. If you have and develop a successful family and you have a strong family, there's a reason they go after the family, is because that is the thing that can make good men great. And really be a breeding grounds for that. And also, everybody needs to have more kids. That's
an odd thing to say, but in essence, you're absolutely right. We need to have more kids.
Yeah, because if you think this is a crazy, horrible world that you don't want to bring your children in, why not bring more children in, make them good, and you'll have a better world? You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, that's just a huge thing that we advocate for, and we push for that. Try to bring some credibility in with, just everyday life, everyday living. That's the success. That's the real way of being non-compliant, is just being happy, being successful, being stable, being grounded. You're not able to be swayed if you have a strong community around you. So we're starting to see that. I'm finding you has been a huge blessing, in the sense that, we're just not on the mountaintop screaming at the top of our lungs by ourselves anymore.
Right.
There's a lot of us. We're getting a lot of reach. We're being very effective. We're pissing off a lot of the people that have been running the roost for the long time, and they don't like it because we're holding them accountable. We're making them accountable. And anybody that says that, we shouldn't be criticizing the people on our side of the aisle, there is no our side of the aisle.
You're damn right.
It's right and wrong. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. There's right and there's wrong. If you're not going to be a good person, have integrity, and stand up for what you believe in, then that's the wrong side of the aisle. But it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, Republican, non-affiliated, libertarian, whatever. The fact is everybody should always be open for criticism. And I don't care if they've been in office for a long time and they're quote unquote holding the line for the Republican Party. That's ignorance. That's small-minded thinking. And we're here to make sure that they do the job that they say that they're going to do. More importantly, we're here to amplify the message of the grassroots, of the actual citizen body, to make sure that that's being heard and represented by these elected officials, whether they like it or not. That's the job. If you don't like representing the public and representing the people, then you should be out of office. You shouldn't be in that position.
So you got criticized by the young man who runs the Oregon Catalyst, Reagan. And let me tell you a little story, because this goes back probably beyond when you were in politics. But there was a guy by the name of Don McIntyre. Don McIntyre, who proposed several different state initiatives, got them on the ballot, and they were voted for, Measure 5 and Measure 50 to the tax code, which tried to keep us from paying an exorbitant amount of taxes. And Don McIntyre was a grassroots politician, and he created this thing called the Oregon Taxpayers Association and the Oregon Catalyst. And just recently, with the Western Liberty Network, which is run by Richard Burke, I won the Don McIntyre Grassroots Activist of the Year Award in 2024. Here's the irony. Don McIntyre, who was a friend of mine, also gave the Oregon Catalyst, let me tell you, just gave this publication that was going out to probably about 100,000 people to a young man by the name of Reagan Knopp, who is the son of Tim Knopp, who is the senator who sold out the 8 or 10 other senators who had walked out on the Senate and denied quorum to the Democrats. Well, Tim Knopp came in with Finley and Anderson, and they sold out those Republicans. And his son is Reagan Knopp. And I remember when little Reagan Knopp was just a little boy coming to the Republican meetings, and he was raised to be a establishment Republican. And Don McIntyre, if he was alive today, who he started the Oregon Catalyst, I think he would be quite upset with Reagan Knopp, the way he treated you and the way he's been behaving by creating these phony gun groups. And I want to give you a few minutes to respond to that, sir.
Well, I'll just say, Reagan, if you ever hear this, you say that my show's not big enough, but I promise you, you're underestimating what is coming and what we have planned for this show. Anytime you want to come on and have a conversation about how disgraceful that your Oregon gun rights group is and how pompous and pretentious you decided that how you want to be with somebody who was simply trying to ask regular questions. It's pathetic, buddy. And listen, just because you think that you can do that and, you're at this status and everything else, be nice to the people on your way up because they're going to be there on your way down. That's the motto that we live by.
Damn right.
And understand that we were just trying to ask real questions. And for you to snile at me like that and say that, you're elitist, everything else, just understand that's not cool anymore. People don't like that. There's a reason Chris Cuomo is going on Patrick Ben-David and getting his ass handed to him by Dave Smith, and just taking the lickings because he knows which way the wave is going. And I will tell you, the wave is not on your side. You guys have a very limited time to keep running this bullshit game that you're playing. And it's only a matter of time until there's enough people that we're going to unseat you. And you guys are going to be so irrelevant and discredited because you have no integrity and no relevance to what the actual public wants and what they're doing. That just go ahead and keep doing it. You guys are in such a bubble. It's just not even funny. Which is why I didn't even bother to respond. I don't care. Like the guys, it's ridiculous for people to think that they're better than us. Just demonstrates who they are in general, right? I'll go on. I'll talk to anybody, anytime. Have a conversation. I want to have real discussions about the state of the world, the state of our state, state of our counties, what we can do. What do we foresee happening? Who's trying to do what? Those are the topics and things I'm really concerned about. I don't need some phony gun group that curries favor and goes on the Lars Larson show.
Right.
And now he thinks he's special. And really, if you listen to the interview, it was just a bunch of non-answers anyway. He talked about all these future things that we would like to do and what we want to do and what our plans are, blah, 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 blah. But really, he's got no credibility. He's got no track record. It was simply just a fake gun group to push through certain candidates in the primaries. Absolutely pathetic. Got called out thanks to you and Michaela and everybody else. You guys got called out. You lost. The public sees it. And you know what? You're not going to get away with it. Eventually, the voter is going to respond. And I think that they already are, and they already have. And so it's only a matter of time until, Reagan's going to be begging to come on Rob Taylor's show just to try to to be relevant again. So
Right, right. Just to be relevant, and in your show as well. And that's why when I saw that post, when he said, you don't have enough viewers, you got like 40 or 50,000 viewers in Salem.
Yeah.
You
But
listeners.
notice how he went on Lars 1 or 2 days
Yeah.
after that, right?
Yeah. And
he's like,
Lars gave him a softball interview. And
Oh,
I'll tell
yeah.
you what, I was grilled by Lars, and I've
Yep.
known Lars for 20 years. And someone else who knows Lars is Kevin Sterrett from Oregon Firearms Federation. And so we were having a back and forth with Lars Larson on Reagan's phony gun group and on David Brock Smith, who was the senator here, of course. And so we were having a back and forth. And so I love how this all goes around when I win the Western Liberty Network's award for Don McIntyre's Grassroots Activist of the Year award. And yet Don McIntyre was the man who made Reagan Canope. Right. You see how I mean that it all goes around. And I just love how politics works that way, because he needs us just as much as we need him. Unfortunately, that's just the way it works.
Well, and don't you find it interesting how all of a sudden these people that are selling out this state and selling out the Republican Party, and they have no backbone and all of this stuff, they're trying to adopt our views and our values and our talking points, and they're trying to blend in and then act like we are the ones and the insurgents and the grifters and the people that are trying to disrupt the system and the way that the Republicans are. It's absolutely absurd. And it's absolutely not true. It's gaslighting 101. And anybody that has not read it, let me see if I can find it here. Okay. Yeah, Rules for Radicals right there.
Sal Alinsky's.
Yeah, Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, right?
I read that when I was in my early 20s, before you were even born, young man.
I believe it.
Read that book.
Another book, Dictator's Handbook. Highly recommend people watch that or read that. One last book, Unrestricted Warfare. This is from the People's Liberation Army, and these are actual documents of unrestricted warfare, and you'll get a good perspective with what's going on in our country. Because let's face it, folks, all the good times, we're not going to have them for a while. We have to take our lickings, and we've had it too good for too long. Too much gluttony, too much surplus, too much unaccountability, too much, how did these pedophiles get in charge? How did all of these things get to where they're at, to where they're so bad? It's because we've been asleep and we've had it too good. We sat down, we shut up, we've enjoyed our white picket fence, watching, basketball and, done all of these things that we weren't paying attention. And, it's been going on for generations, but the chickens are coming home to roost. Suddenly they're like, well, what? Things aren't like this. Things aren't like how they used to be. We can't leave our doors unlocked anymore. You're right. It's America in 2024. It's no longer, things aren't like that anymore, because incrementally the fabric of our society, but more importantly, holding our elected officials accountable, we've stopped doing it, and or we've let these bullies, however they want to bully us, we've let them win, in the sense that their bullying suddenly became a thing, and that gave them power, because we sat down, whether we're scared of our neighbors saying something about you or feeling a certain way. It's like, no. You need to do what's right, and you need to stand on the fabric of this society and of our country. If you believe in it, understand, back to our forefathers, they fought for this country. Some of them died. And there's been millions and millions of people who have sacrificed for this country. And so let it be, it's an absolute disservice and disrespect to our ancestors and our forefathers if we don't stand up and fight for it as well.
I totally agree. And I think that you're going to find a whole new generation of young people who are watching what's happening in the streets of America and are revolted by it or disgusted by it. And I think you're a good example of this. And I think that that's just coming. I think because every generation rebels against the generation that came before them.
Right.
And I think that there's a generation, especially that between the ages of 14 and 18, who, when they were 14, President Trump became president in 2016, and in 2020 he left the presidency. I think those people who became men between 14 and 18 and young women are going to say enough's enough.
Right.
Would you agree?
Yeah, I would. I was 14 years old on 9/11.
Right.
And after that point, I started looking into some discrepancies, right? What's going on with the Bush family? What's going on with that whole big lie that is still being regurgitated today with what happened? Nobody wants to talk about Building 7, right?
Yep.
And all of these things, I mean, if you guys want to get into it, you really can. But the fact is that's when I really started to wake up. But trying to have a conversation with my dad or my grandpa, who was a World War II vet, you know, and different things. There was just something that I understood, that I saw, that I acclimated at a young age to where things were simpler to understand in regards to, you know, the depths of the world with who's running things and how things are actually operating. And I think absolutely you're right. That's going to happen with our kids. You know, think of the grandchild with the cell phone and how they operate the cell phone. That's a prime example. They grew up with it. They've been acclimated to it. They are going to be more inept and sophisticated to these types of, you know, propaganda marketing campaigns. Like they understand what it is at such a deeper, more evolved level than we do.
Yes.
To where it doesn't affect them. They're like, oh, you believe that? Like some guy is sending you an email. Like I got an email today from the Social Security office, right? It says critical unauthorized changes made to my Social Security account number. Click here. You know, think of younger kids are like, yeah, that's spam. We don't care about that, right? They just automatically know because they've been acclimated to it and they see it, right? And so the older generations are the ones taking advantages of these hoaxes because they're not as familiar with the technologies. And I think through evolution, we're going to have something very similar to that, to where it's going to be the understanding. Look at what's happening with TikTok and the awareness of all of these things in history that we've been told, and how quickly they're unwinding with the actual facts of what happened during history, right? Just because you know about it doesn't mean it's real.
It's funny how you say that. I have a granddaughter, and we just took her to the toy store in Bandon, and we showed her all of these toys. And do you know which toy she chose for us to purchase? It was, of course, the cell phone. She purchased a mock cell phone where she could push and hear a little message and push the numbers and make a little call. And I thought it was just amazing. We had tambourines, we had dinosaurs, of all the things that we had. What did she want? The cell phone. And she already has a cell phone that her parents had bought her, another.
Well, the cell phone.
Isn't that amazing?
It is. The cell phone is, I believe, the modern weapon of mass destruction. It is the Trojan horse. It is the mechanism in which how they're able to corrupt and organize these kids, and why we have all these pop-up protests and nonsensical people with half a brain that just have no common sense and no logic, simply because there's something called suspended disbelief. And it puts you in almost like a trance-like sleep state through frequencies and frame rates. And they're actually able to manipulate moods, thoughts. And, you know, McDonald's has a patent. You can look it up. McDonald's has a patent and a technology through indirect I forgot what the actual word is, but basically using wireless technology to promote McDonald's products to your brain. There's a patent for that, right? So they have
I don't know
technology.
why, because their fries are like crack already. I mean,
Right.
we've actually have literally fought over the fries, me and my wife. So it blows my mind that they would even need technology. But of course, if I was a businessman, I would use that technology to exploit people's need or desire to eat crappy food. I mean,
Right.
I can't say it any
But
better.
the problem is, and that's what I was referring to with the 5G as well, is that these things, as great as they are, they're very effective. I mean, think of the citizen journalism that's happening and how effective people are on unwinding situations that the fake news media is reporting with what actually happened versus what we are able to see in raw content, things like that. So it's great. It's a great tool. It's a great weapon. But just like for any new invention, there invokes a new problem. Okay. So the dangers are of it getting and acclimating these children to where they don't know how to change a tire. They don't know how to build a fire. They don't know how to play with sticks. They have no imagination because they're
Right.
constantly being told what their imagination needs to be, and kind of moving things in that direction. But I think that there's a cultural shift happening. If you look some of the most desired vacation spots in the world have no cell phone service. They're completely disconnected redoubts up in the middle of nowhere. People are longing for that disconnect. And one of the things that you can do that I recommend, just a couple little things to put in your arsenal, is contact your power company if you have a house, is get rid of your smart meter.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing on RF exposure and different things like that are effective. They do affect your mood, right? There's a video I should post. I think I posted on my X of this guy. He had graphene oxide, which is in a lot of the vaccines and things like that, but he's manipulating it with his cell phone, right? Through frequencies. If you understand frequency manipulation, if you look at the recent Joe Rogan interview with that guy, I can't think of his name. I can't think of his name right now. He was on the first Iron Man, right? He was Rhodey on the first Iron Man. Phenomenal guy, scientist. I'll get his name and stuff. But he broke down how the periodic table should be, and it's just unwinding all of the science misnomers that we have in the world. And so it's fascinating. The people are waking up and getting privy to that, but understand they're all just frequencies. We're all in a frequency-based system. Your thoughts are frequencies. Your neurons in your mind are all frequency-based. You're able to have frequency inducing, which is why music's so powerful, right?
Yep.
Because they're able to induce a certain mind or thought from a frequency that we have to be, just like we check the labels when we're grocery shopping, just like we should be filtering our water. Now, everybody should be distilling their water. Because even filtration systems aren't taking out everything. I think that's a huge element for why we're in this state of affairs and why we feel like people are sitting down. I think because we're being poisoned every day, either it's microplastics or whatever type of forever chemicals they're exposing us to. There's recent things come out with Prime on how they have 6 times the amount of forever chemicals in one drink.
Can you believe that? I know,
yeah.
I know. And you're like, wow, let's just have a drink from the tap and you're drinking nothing but poison.
Right. There's a phenomenal video. I'm going to send it to you right now, Rob, of a scientist that shows tap water, and he actually does experiments to break down what's actually in the tap water. He also induces chemicals. He puts the chemicals through the water treatment process. It turns cloudy. It turns muggy. It's disgusting. And then he just, through chemical process, puts more chemical in there. Suddenly it turns clear, and it's clear tap water. It's fantastic to see that in real time. And I think the next push, the big thing that I try to focus on, is to push these water bureaus and these water treatment centers, just like they do in Europe, just like they do in other countries, to stop putting these chemicals and allowing these chemicals in the water, testing for downers and SSRIs and
Right.
psychotic drugs. Like, they're not testing for this stuff in the water supply. They're pushing that forward. And guess what? Your kids are drinking it. Your wife is drinking it. You are drinking it. Your grandparents. You ever wonder why we're in this weird state? And you're like, how are people operating? Why do I feel like I'm in some weird alternate universe? Why do I feel like I'm the divergent person standing amongst all these drones or these NPCs or whatever you want to call them? A lot of them, I believe, are being chemically induced and chemically castrated in their inability to think. They're not able to because they're being just overwhelmed by, sophisticated chemicals, and they're seeing it with the kidnappings, the attempted kidnappings, the fentanyl dolls. I mean, chemicals are a huge thing. And if you can cleanse your body from that, and then cleanse your body from, radioactive materials, microwaves. Everybody's got a microwave now, right? I don't have a microwave in my house. I don't believe in it. I think it's poison. If you read in the terms and conditions of the microwave, it's radiating your food. Your food comes out, it's radiating, and then you eat the radiated food. Tell me that's healthy. You wonder why
I
cancer's
can't
up
tell
so
you
much.
that's healthy, but I got a microwave here and I use it on a regular basis. And, I'm just as guilty. And I
Right.
drink tap water straight from it's funny. My parents were here just a couple of years ago, and I offered them some water from the tap. And they said, "Oh, no, we want that bottled water that's in the refrigerator." And I said, "Well, I just fill the jug from the tap.
Right.
And the only reason it tastes better is probably because it sat in the refrigerator for a day or two and has gotten cold."
Sure.
But I'm guilty of that. And, Art Robinson, who's a senator, wrote a masterpiece of a theology about hormesis, that you have to expose yourself to these type of things because a little bit of exposure builds up an immunity to these things. And so I'm on the fence of that. Yes, do we completely eliminate these things from our water? Because I don't know if we can anymore, because plastic is in fish in the deepest parts of the ocean. Or do we try to just go ahead and do, like he says, hormesis, where you are exposing yourself to little bits of it over a longer period of time?
Sure. I can understand that argument. But I also think about, that's like giving your body, 50 or 60% of the sleep, or 80% of the sleep that your body actually needs. You never fully recover. Right. So day after day, if you continually only get 80% of your sleep cycle, eventually you're going to become fatigued and you're going to crash and you're going to get tired. Same
But
thing
is that true? Because I'm an old guy,
Yeah.
and every morning at 2 a.m, I got to get up and go pee. Okay. At least once a night. And I never did that in my 20s or my 30s, but I have to get up now. And my wife's the same way, because she's reached that age where you don't get that full night of sleep. You got to go and do those body functions that you just got to do,
Yeah. But at the same time, I think that, getting that sleep, having the proper sleep scenarios, getting the good rejuvenated REM sleep, you're going to give your body the best fight that it can. The best fight that it can to fight off all the other chemical exposures that it's getting. So if you're able to drink clean, pure water, your body's able to detox easier, because it's not fending off the new chemicals. It's able to cleanse the old ones. So I still believe, I personally believe that you're better off purifying things the best that you can, remineralizing it with, Celtic salts, just microdose into Celtic salts, different things like that. But giving your body a fighting chance to kind of wash away some of that chemical exposure. Now, maybe there's an argument of a little bit of exposure, but some of these chemicals that you're getting exposed to, I don't care how much, incremental micrograms you're exposing to, it's not good for you. It's not healthy. But also, if you take that same argument, Look at the restrictions. I mean, there's no template. There's no template given to you by the city municipalities saying, hey, you guys should only drink 1 glass of water per day because that's the normal consumption for the median level person.
Right.
If you weigh this much, you should only drink this much because there's this much chemical in it. There's none of that. So if you're drinking 8 cups of water a day like you're supposed to, there's just no regulation. There's no restriction. There's no prescription prescribed to, hey, by the way, you're getting these chemicals, and so you can only consume this much. There's just an unlimited amount, which it's also going into our children and exposing to them, which is why we have, I believe, a lot of the confusion within young boys and girls.
Yeah.
And it's not just the water. It's overall exposure. It's the inability. Their bodies are bombarded, which is why you have 6-year-olds getting periods, 6-year-old girls and 9-year-old girls starting their periods, developing breasts, doing all this stuff. But it's also, I think too, if you there's these 18, 19, 20-year-old Gen Zers, right? These famous girls. There was this whole video on it. It was really interesting. They look 35, 40. They look old. And now why is that? Compared to, my generation, which is a little bit older, some of the celebrities my age look younger than the new celebrities that are coming out. And I think that has a lot to do with chemical exposure. The funny thing is we go to a grocery store, we put our bananas and our apples and all of our stuff go into a plastic bag. Then we go get our produce, which is wrapped in a plastic container. Then we get this, it's all wrapped in plastic. Everything is plastic, consume plastic, because it's cheap, it's effective, everything else.
Right.
Then you go to the checkout line, they're like, do you want a plastic bag? You're like, yeah, I do. Okay, it's 5 cents. You got to pay for that.
Right.
So we got to pay for those, but meanwhile, we're inducted by it. So I think some clean, healthy eating habits give us a much more fighting chance. I don't think there's a way to cleanse everything out. But drinking good water that's not already full of all kinds of chemicals with no accountability, I do believe that, that's really healthy. I mean, our body's 70% water,
right?
So
right.
It's good to give it a fighting chance, because what we found too in a lot of these, fringe cancer treatment things that we see with people and everything else, what do? They simply detox their body and allow their body to cleanse the way that it's built. We have one of the most amazing machines in the planet is the human body and the ability to heal itself and detox and do all that stuff. But if we bombard it with all these chemicals, in which we've been getting experimented on it for such a long time, they know what to give us. They know how to, give us just enough to make us docile. Right. So,
and I think that's a large part of it. Yes.
Right. And I think that's a bigger explanation. It's kind of the underbelly of, why our society is operating in the way that it is. I mean, there's a million different things, but we're in a full spectrum dominance thing where you have to be aware of every element of your consumption indirectly and directly and play a part in it. And that's how you become, self-sufficient and aware. And I think naturally, if you're able to get your mind right, naturally, you're going to want to preserve the values of this society and preserve the values of this country.
And I think in many ways, I do agree with you. I just don't know how we're going to get to the point where we're able to clean the process. You know what I mean? The waters.
Right.
I came from a state where we used aquifer water. Cleanest water you could get. It's been filtered through rocks and soil, and then they pull it out of the aquifer underneath the desert, and it's some of the cleanest water you could get. And in fact, it's a very flavorful water compared to what we get here in Bandon, because the water table is, we're at sea level, and you can't get the cleanest water that you could get because it's been adulterated with the salt water and stuff.
Yeah.
And who knows what the hell they're putting into this crap.
Exactly. I mean,
That's the scary part.
That's the thing. And so taking charge of it, I mean, at least trying to filter it. You know, I think it's very important. I mean, after drinking 30 days of, you know, filtered water, good filters, not just a charcoal filter, but like real filters that are filtering a lot of this garbage out. You go and you just drink a tap, you go to a restaurant and they give you water. You can smell all those chemicals. You can smell the chlorine. You can smell it.
You pour the water into your glass. I'll get up in the middle of the night. I'll need a drink of water, and you'll pour your water from the tap, and you can smell the bleach in it. And they say they don't use bleach, but I can smell it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So there's just a lot to it. But anybody and everybody that's listening, I think it's very important to take a role. And those are things that you can do that you don't have to get political about. You don't have to to do that. And there is a huge run on water filtration systems right now to where there's shortages. So I highly suggest you guys get on that and get that now. Because there's another advantage. If the running water stops, you can still make potable water through other water sources with these type of filtration systems. So it's a good survival, self-preservation. You know, you can only live 3 days without water. It's just one of those things that you want to have in your tool belt, and, you know, potentially get clean water to your neighbors and people when there might be a shortage or some type of salmonella poisoning going through your water treatment center.
So I've gotten you on here for now an hour and 50 minutes, and it doesn't even seem like an hour and 50 minutes. It seems like we just started. Before I get you off of here, Josh, would you like to tell my audience anything?
Well, I just want to say that I'm happy to be a part of this movement. I'm happy to be a voice and represent Oregon in a good way and let people know that there are voices out here and there are people out here that do care. We do give a shit. And we do stand for real values and real things. And we're here and we are coming, we're growing. And I'm happy with any interaction. Anybody wants to reach out to me. If you have suggestions, I'm open to all types of guests. And we're just out here doing the best we can. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not a sunshine patriot. I'm not going to, flee to Florida or anything like that. I'm here in Oregon. We ain't going anywhere. My kids live here. My family's here. Everybody's here. So we just got to make the best with what we got. And it's up to us. We can't depend on, these politicians or anybody. We can change the culture, and it doesn't take a lot of us. We can do it. You just have to be surgical, own up to your mistakes, be transparent, and just do the best that you can. Wake up every day and do the best that you can. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you for joining me, and we'll have you back on the show because I think you're just absolutely phenomenal in what you're presenting, and I hope you continue to do it because I think Salem needs it. Salem is a much more liberal town than what I have here in Coos County, and I think you're doing a great job of that. So I appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much, Rob. I appreciate it. And if you guys want to check out my show, go to noncompliantamerica.com, or you can follow me on X at noncompliantaf. Thanks very much.
All right, Josh, you have a good time, man.
You too, buddy. Have a good day.
All right. You too. Bye-bye. And that was an interesting interview. And like I said, it is so phenomenal to have people who are, younger than I am, because I'm an old dude and I sit there and I think, are my ideas out of fashion? Are my ideas just not what the younger generation wants? And then I listen to people like Josh and I go, no, my ideas are sound. My ideas are solid. The ideas of the founding fathers, you listen to what the Age of Enlightenment brought us, and you have to go, wow, those are very valid issues. Those are very valid issues that we have today. And so I'm just thrilled that there are people like Josh who are out there who are still presenting the ideas of not only me, but the founding fathers, that individual liberty and limited government is what it's all about. And that's what he's talking about. Everything that we just talked about was about limited government, about individual liberty, about pushing forward. But I do got to give you guys a heads up of what's going on. We have a meeting going on that's happening at 5:30. It's right now, it's almost 5 o'clock. It's 4:54. And the Oregon Department of Land Conservation and Development is holding a coastal community meeting on proposed offshore wind leases. Now, these are the call areas that the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management want to lease. And the Oregon Department of Land and Conservation and Development is having several meetings to hear what your ideas are and your opinion on having these offshore windmills just 13 miles off of our shore. So the DLCD community meetings, the first one is June 3rd, which is today. Today, folks, this is happening in Brookings. So if you live in Brookings and you're in the area, you need to go to this meeting. It's at 5:30 to 8:30 at the Brookings Harbor High School. That's 8293. Boy, that's not right. 625 Pioneer Road, Brookings. It's at 625 Pioneer Road, Brookings at the Brookings Harbor High School. And I'm sure if you Google that, it would tell you exactly where to go. On June 4th, that's tomorrow, they are having another meeting in Coos Bay at the Sunset Middle School, 245 S Cammon Street, Coos Bay. I will be there tomorrow. Hopefully I'll be able to film live for Facebook, but I encourage you folks to go to this meeting at Sunset Middle School tomorrow. And I'm going to be there about 5 o'clock. I'm going to have a couple of my protest signs out there. And let's see, you can see these protest signs. You see that? Protest signs? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We're going to be protesting those windmills. This is the other side of those signs. Yeah, we got a whole bunch of those signs. We'll have those available for you at the meeting tomorrow. And once again, that's tomorrow at the Sunset Middle School in Coos Bay. On June 6th in Florence, if you're up in Florence, the Cislaw Middle School at 2525 Oak Street in Florence, 5:30 to 8:30. Once again, I highly recommend you go and check it out. And of course, June 7th, let me clear my face there, from 5:30 to 8:30 at the Newport High School, 322 Northeast Eads Street in Newport. You guys need to go out to these meetings. You need to go out to these meetings and tell these people, go F yourself. We don't want these windmills. We're not going to put up with them. And we want to save the fishing industry. We want to save the fish. And there's a lot of harm that can come from these windmills. This is an interesting thing. If you look at this, BOEM has said that they don't have any evidence that their windmills are going to cause problems. But if you look at this, you look at the scientists around the world are still investigating the potential impacts of offshore wind energy development and marine life. Site assessments, constructions, and operations could interact with marine life on the seabed, in the water, and at the surface. For example, offshore wind energy projects could potentially increase ocean noise, which could affect the behaviors of fish, whales, and other species. It also could introduce electromagnetic fields that impact navigation, predator detections, communication, and the ability for fish and shellfish to find mates. It could change existing habitats by altering local or regional hydrodynamics I don't know if you've read about this, but the windmills, they actually, because of the way the blades are projecting wind in the air, it could actually cause wakes in the water that could cause problems for the fish. It could create a reef effect where marine life cluster around the hard surfaces of wind developments. It could impact organisms' life cycle stages, including larval dispersal and spawning. That sounds pretty serious. Pretty serious. Change species composition, abundance, distribution, and survival rates. Increase vessel traffic, which could lead to more vessel strikes of different animals such as mammals, whales, and release contaminants that can be consumed or absorbed by marine life. And you got to ask yourself, is this worth it? Is this worth it, folks? I don't think it's worth it. And I'm going to continue to fight against these offshore wind turbines. And so I highly recommend that you go to these meetings that are happening today, tomorrow, on the 6th, on the 7th. And like I said, these are community meetings. Everyone's welcome today at Brookings. If you're in Brookings or the surrounding area, please go to these meetings. Tomorrow, I will be at Sunset Middle School to voice my concerns against this windmill projects. June 6th, if you're in Florence, or June 7th, when you're at Newport. If you're going to be in these areas, please, please, please go to these meetings, because there are some problems, and BOEM even admits that there are some problems with the wind development. And we are having some Stop the Windmill rallies. Stop the Windmill rallies that are happening high noon Saturday, June 15th. On June 15th, please come out to Gold Beach at the county courthouse, and we will have signs available for you. We will ask you to give those signs back. And in fact, we'll have American flags to go with the signs, because, you know, we're very patriotic, as well as protesting the windmill projects that are going on. And then at 2 o'clock, we're going to head down to Brookings at 711 Chetco Avenue, which is a really cool site. I don't know if you caught my show on Memorial Day last week. If you go to Rumble or YouTube, you can catch that show, and it was really incredible. I did it on location, and I think people were very in tune to what's going on. We had a great response. We had a great response in Gold Beach, and so come out June 15th. This is a Saturday at high noon, June 15th at Gold Beach. Or follow us down to 2 p.m. down at Saturday on 711 Chetco Avenue in Brookings. If you're one of those people who want to check out what's going on around your communities, the city abandoned tonight. You know, if you don't go down to Brookings to that land development and conservation meeting that they're having, Department of Conservation and Land Development. Yeah, that's what it is. If you're not going to that meeting, then you might want to go to the City Council meeting of Bandon if you live here in Bandon, Monday, June 3rd. That's tonight at 7 o'clock. There are some interesting things on the agenda. The Sprague Theater, they're asking the manager to give almost $250,000 to the Sprague Theater for lighting, and that's Agenda 5.5. And then here's the interesting thing. The city of Bandon is asking the Urban Renewal Agency to give up some of their assets to the city. You know, in most cases, we'd call this money laundering, but because it's the government and it's done through an Urban Renewal Agency, they don't call it money laundering. They just call it business as usual. But what they do is that the Urban Renewal Agency will take money from other taxing districts, and they will purchase property, and they will buy assets, and then they'll give those assets to the city, and the city can then sell those assets for a profit. And like I said, in most cases you would call it money laundering, but in government you just call it business as usual. And tomorrow night, the Coos Bay City Council meeting This is an interesting one. This has to kind of do with our commissioner's race, and here's what it has to do with our commissioner's race. Tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Tuesday at the Coos County Commissioners meeting, there are two proclamations that they are planning on passing. The first proclamation is the Gay Pride Proclamation. Now, I don't know why they need those proclamations. I have nothing against gay people. If you want to be as gay as you want. A gay away, that's what I say. And if you want to be straight, be straight. And if you want to be a bi, that's perfectly fine with me. You know, as long as you're consenting adults, I don't care who you sleep with. As long as nobody's being forced to do anything against their will and all of you are consenting adults, I don't care. But why does the city have to be involved with this gay pride event? And it's the approval of a Pride Month proclamation. You know, it's funny. We have a lot of veterans in this country, and veterans get one day, Veterans Day. But yet we're going to do a whole month for gay people. And I'm not sure what gay people ever did for America. I really don't understand this. Are they someone who are so special that they did something for this country that deserves the whole recognition of an entire month? I don't think so. But get this. One of the city councilors is Drew Farmer. Drew Farmer is a city councilor in the city of Coos Bay. Drew Farmer is also a candidate for county commissioner. So if you believe that this gay pride crap is nothing but crap, and this proclamation is nothing but virtual signaling by the city council of Coos Bay, because that's what I think it is. It's nothing but virtual signaling. Well, if you support Drew Farmer for county commissioner and you vote for Drew Farmer as county commissioner, what you're voting for is the county to eventually start approving their own Pride Month proclamations. And I don't want my county to promote these proclamations. I don't want my county to promote I don't want them to promote heterosexuality. I don't want them to promote bisexuality. I don't want to promote gay sexuality, because that's not the domain of government. The government shouldn't be involved with that. Government should represent every individual equally, right? Isn't that right? That's what I believe. And so I think these proclamations are, well, for lack of a better term, they're bullshit, okay? This is a bunch of bullshit that the city is passing so that they could virtue signal to the leftists who are basically supporters of the city council. So I would go to the city council. This is happening tomorrow at 6 o'clock. This is tomorrow, Tuesday, June 4th. Go to the city council and tell them to go fuck themselves. You know, do it politely. You know, you don't have to be rude about it. Just say, you know, I think that this approval of the Pride Month proclamation is a bunch of bullshit and you should go fuck yourself. That's just my opinion on this. Because if they had a heterosexual proclamation, or we're supporting February, well, I think that's Black Pride Month. Okay, let's make it November. We're supporting heterosexual month. Well, you know what? I don't need your support. You know what I mean? I don't need a proclamation, and this is not the domain of government. So stay the hell out of sexuality. You know, I've been dealing when Roger Craddock was the city manager. I've known Roger Craddock probably about 20 years. You know what I know about Roger Craddock's sexuality? Zero, zip, nada. Why? Because I don't care about the former manager of Coos Bay's sexuality. I don't care what Roger Craddock, I think he was married. I don't know. You know, most of the people, if he's been married as long as I've been, you know, you're asexual. You don't do any sex. So why does it even matter? So my question is why does it matter that Drew Farmer, the county commissioner, has to push his bisexuality upon the rest of us by supporting this approval of a gay pride month. And I'm going to read this to you. It says the summary of this proclamation is June has been designated as Pride Month to commemorate the liberation movement that exploded with the Stonewall Inn incident in June 1969 and has continued with several historic Supreme Court rulings overruling regressive laws affirming marriage equality and enabling workplace protections for members of the LGBTQIA2S plus community. It is the City of Coos Bay's desire to acknowledge the importance of diversity, equity, and inclusion in our community, committing the support of equality for all and promoting Pride Month in the City of Coos Bay. And you know what I call bullshit? You know why I call bullshit on this? Because April, back a couple of years ago, when Joanne Verger, who was a Democrat, who used to be the mayor of Coos Bay and a very popular mayor, she declared or proclaimed that April was the Christian month. The equivalent of Pride Month proclamation, it was Christian Month proclamation that they passed several years ago. And do they celebrate Christianity in the month of April? And you know why they celebrate it in the month of April? Because that's when Jesus Christ was crucified on the cross, was resurrected, and rose into heaven. And it's a beautiful story. I love the story of Jesus Christ. And I'm not even a Christian, but I love the story of Jesus Christ. But yet we don't celebrate April month as the month of Christianity. However, Drew Farmer, who's a candidate for county commissioner, is celebrating the approval of Pride Month proclamation. This is why I could never support Drew Farmer for commissioner of Coos County, no matter how conservative he tries to sound. This is the kind of crap that he supports. And I'm going to be promoting or showing what he says tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be watching the meeting. I'll be watching what Drew says. And I tell you what, I think it's a bunch of bullshit. I think it's a bunch of bullshit because it's nothing but virtual signaling to his leftist supporters. And that's the people in the Democratic Party who paid for a lot of his commercials in the primary. And now he's facing Bob Maine, who is supposedly a conservative. Most of the time, Bob Maine's a conservative. But Drew Farmer, he pretends to be a conservative, but yet he supports this gay pride crap. But then not only of that, Drew Farmer also supports the approval of Juneteenth proclamation. Now let me read you the summary of the Juneteenth proclamation. And all of this is happening tomorrow at 6 o'clock at the City Hall building in Coos Bay. So go to Coos Bay. If you live in Coos Bay, you got to go to the City Council meeting and you got to figure out what's going on here, because if you don't, you might be mistaken that Drew Farmer, who's pretending to be a conservative, is really not a conservative. So I'm going to read the summary. I'm going to read this summary to you. It says, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, ultimately resulting in the adoption of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery. It wasn't until over 2 years after the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation, Major General Gordon Granger announced the end of the Civil War and slavery after his arrival in Galveston, Texas in June 19, 1865. And did you know why General Gordon Granger had to go to Galveston? Because there was an Indian tribe in Galveston who refused to release their black slaves, and this general took the military there to force this Indian tribe to release these slaves. I know, doesn't quite fit the narrative that a bunch of white people were the slave owners. No, there were Indian tribes who owned slaves, black slaves, on the Trail of Tears the Comanche tribes who went from Tennessee all the way across this country on the Trail of Tears brought their black slaves along with them. And so slavery isn't one of those things that is just not designated to white people. There were people to this day in Somalia, black people in Somalia, who are selling other black people into slavery. This is happening today. This is happening in the Congo. In the Congo, there are black people selling other black people into slavery to work into Chinese mines. This is not something I'm making up. This is true. This is a fact. We know this. The United Nations have put out reports on this. The Congo, to this very day, you got black people selling black people into slavery to work into Chinese mines. You know, those mines where they're digging up lithium so that we can power all those electrical cars here? Yeah, that's happening, folks. That's happening right now. And if you don't believe it, well, then you're living the delusion. That's what's happening with you. So also tomorrow, Tuesday, June 4th at 9:30 in the morning, tomorrow, the BOC meeting. They didn't have too many things on the agenda. In fact, it's going to be a very short meeting, which is good. This is a good thing because I highly recommend you go show up to the meeting and you talk about the things that are of concern to you. To me, what's of concern to me is that they just lost the vote on this tax levy. And so now they're going to have to cut a lot of departments. And so what many of the people should be going there is say, don't cut the sheriff's department, cut all the other departments but the sheriff's department. And that's what we need to start talking to them about. And then we got to start talking to them about how to raise funding for the sheriff's department because the tax levy failed. Why did it fail? Because people are tired of paying taxes. It's plain and simple. We are taxed to death. Taxed enough already. Taxed enough already. So we have to go to these commissioners' meetings, especially tomorrow which is Tuesday, because the commissioners are having a small agenda item. They're going to get done within an hour, and then people need to stand up during public comment and say, look, we understand you're in a budget crisis. Go get a GoFundMe page. Let's start crowdfunding. Let's start talking to businesses and see if businesses can pitch in. Let's see if other people want to pitch in who can't afford it, because we don't want to force people who can't afford it to pay taxes. There are other avenues of getting funding for the jail, and we got to look into those avenues. And it's going to take you people to go to the BOC meeting tomorrow, 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning it starts, and find out what the hell they're doing. And so that's just, God, we got a lot of meetings today. And so I just want to promote a couple of my sponsors. 3H Tree Service, Matt Holman. He was on the show at the beginning of the show talking about where's 3H Tree Service. They had a winner. And if you want to get your trees removed, you got some problem trees, we can take care of that. No problem. We can take care of that. 541-294-1800 at 3H Tree Service. They're badass. They're badass. You have to be a badass business to be a sponsor of a radical show just like ours. And the only reason that 3H Tree Service can do that is because this county is a majority Republican county. This county is still full of sane people who are not promoting the woke agenda. And because of that, people like Matt Holman can run a business and still run a business while sponsoring such a radical show like mine. You know, my show, we're radical. We're radical. I don't know what to tell you. That's just the way I am. But 3H Tree Service, if you want to get a hold of them, 541-294-1800. And you can get them on Facebook. Their Facebook page is of the same name of their business, 3H Tree Service. And you got to check out these videos. These guys go in there and they surgically remove those with surgical precision. They remove these trees and They do absolutely incredible work, and you would be blown away by watching some of their videos. I highly recommend it. And Tom and Gigs, we heard from Tim. Tim's a radical MFer, okay? I won't say the word, but he's an MFer. He's one radical MFer, and he's not putting up with any shit. And that's why I love my sponsors, because they think the way I do. They're not afraid to express themselves. They're not afraid to look you straight in the eye and tell you the government is full of bullshit. The government's full of bullshit. What can I tell you? But if you want to go to businesses who are like-minded, go see Tim at Tom and Gigs. Tim at Tom and Gigs, he can take care of all your muffler needs, your automotive needs. You need a tonneau cover for your truck? I highly recommend it. We just got a tonneau cover not too long ago for our truck, and it's badass. I mean, Tim did a great job, so I highly recommend that. And so he's just one of the sponsors of the show that I highly recommend. Herbal Choices. Herbal Choices, it's a cannabis dispensary. I highly recommend, if you're going to go to any dispensary, don't go to LaModa. LaModa, the Democrats' best friend. You don't want to go to LaModa, because LaModa, they're giving money to people like Val Hoyle. You don't want to go to LaModa. You want to go to someone who's a conservative marijuana dispensary, and that's Herbal Choices. Herbal Choices Cannabis. And I highly recommend it, because you can go to their stores, and they've got several of them. They got one in Coos Bay. They got one on the south side, southbound in North Bend. They got a store. They got one in Reedsport. They got one in Charleston, and they got one in southern Bandon, just south of town in Bandon. One of my favorite stores to go to. I highly recommend it. And they've got all of your favorite herbal needs. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. And by the way, I'm not pushing this on anyone. I only believe that consenting adults should be able to consume herbal medicine, herbal recreation, herbal choices. It's cannabis, and if you're under 21, like I said, you got to have a mind. You have to have a mind before you can blow it. So that's my recommendation on your herbal choices need. And of course, Oregon Firearms Federation. What can I say? What can I say? Kevin Starrett is one badass dude. He's like a one-man wrecking machine defending our Second Amendment rights. And if you believe in your Second Amendment as much as I believe in my Second Amendment, then please give to the Oregon Firearms Federation. They're one hell of an organization, and they've been fighting for your Second Amendment rights for a long time. And for a couple of people who are not my sponsors, these people are not my sponsors, but I like to mention them in case you want to partake in their services, and that's the Bandon Gun Club. You can see bandongunclub.org. You can find them right there. It's a Bandon Gun Club. If you want to go and practice on the pistol range, or take out your trap shotgun and try out their 5-stand trap shot, it's badass. It's really cool. I highly recommend it. And of course, the Tioga Sports Park, if you need to try out some of your rifle shooting skills. We all got rifle shooting skills that we need to take care of, and they have a 100-yard target area where you can shoot your rifle and hone those skills. I highly recommend it. And that's pretty much what I have going on today. I want to thank you all for joining me, and I want to thank my guest who is just carrying out what he needs to carry out, doing the things that he needs to do. I do have a comment. Lux. Rob, have you been drinking? You've been weird, slurring your words this whole show. Well, does it matter? Does it matter if I'm drinking? I don't know. It's really none of your business, Lux, because you're a moron, and most of the time your comments leave a lot to be desired. So, I don't care what you think about me. I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and if you don't like it, then do your own thing. That's what I always recommend people to do. If you don't like what I'm doing, do your own thing. if I slur my words or I'm not sounding as clear as I might sound, well, too damn bad. I don't really care. So that's just my point in the whole matter of the thing. And I want to thank you all for joining me. Because actually, I think drinking might actually have ended the show with a much higher note because, that's just the way adults are. And we're all adults here, and we're going to do the things that adults do. So I thank you all for joining me. And we will be back again on Friday. We're going to have the Friday night rant. It's going to be a cool show. It's going to be a highly cool show, and I highly recommend that you join us because I've got a special guest coming on. I haven't confirmed him, so I can't tell you who that guest is. But we're going to have a lot of guests. We're going to have Tom DeWeese coming on here. We're going to have a gentleman coming on talking about the Chinese infiltration of our government and how the Chinese is power of our land. And that thing. Oh, I'm losing contact. I'm losing contact there. It's all right, because I got to go anyway. And you all should join me this Friday for the Friday night rant. And you know what I always say, folks? Until Friday or until the next time, carry on, America. Carry on.